It's an interesting bet. I mean, Amazon went all in on that in the last 20 years, with this idea that like everybody can and everybody should be an author. Like they really convinced the world everybody has a book in them. And the result of that was like great in some ways because it really reduced the like barrier to entry to becoming an author. But then it also like demolished the publishing industry. And it meant that authors that are very talented writers and have great research skills and great writing skills can no longer make a living as authors because there is so much noise in the market. And it does seem like what Spines is doing is gleefully adding to that noise. Like you seem to have the philosophy, like publishing books should be about the author's ego. It should be about the author's vanity. It should be about like getting everybody's voice out there for posterity. And I'm just wondering like kind of, how do you, I guess the question we have is about quality control, like it sounds like you don't do it. Like we read your terms of service and you like, please nothing hateful, which, is appreciated.
In 2025, there will be 2.5 million new titles published in the States. Okay. I'm only planning on publish somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000.
So you're part of the problem, but you didn't invent the problem.
That's a small percentage. Okay. I'm only helping those who want to do that. Okay, but probably don't have tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, and probably they will never be accepted by the traditional publishers. I'm only giving them a chance. Netflix and YouTube. Netflix try to choose very wisely their content, but YouTube allows anyone to upload a video, and let the viewers to choose what is right. Okay, what is better. So same thing here. I will enable anyone to get published, and let's let the readers choose what is good and what isn't. I'm not here to say who is worthy to be an author and who isn't. If you spent a year writing a manuscript, if you have this aspiration of becoming a published author, I'm here to help you realizing your publishing dream. That's what we're all about.
So you're outsourcing quality control to the reader.
Well, no, I would actually say this is and I like the Netflix YouTube comparison because this is a fascinating thing that YouTube has usurped Netflix in terms of consumption. So like more people watch more hours of YouTube than watch Netflix, which is like a really interesting aspect of democratization. And so like books haven't gone that way. Books have really like gone the other direction where like a few brand names control the market. So it's sort of the opposite direction. But I'm mostly concerned with like, how do you demarcate what is dark and what is light, and where do you how do you define that in terms of like your filter?
We don't want to publish any books that may harm any group of people. Or we had a situation where we thought the book is okay, but after a few weeks, Amazon has blocked that book. So we decided, okay, if it's not good for Amazon, it's probably not good for us as well. So we unlisted that from it.
Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Elly Blue, the vice president of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we welcome special guest to the pod, first-timer, Yehuda Niv of Spines. Yehuda, can you briefly describe your business model and what is different about Spines from other publishers?
We allow everyone to upload their manuscript, start creating the final version of their book. They have to choose a plan. Okay, we start from 1,200 up to 5,000. That depends of how much of a service they would like the AI to do for them. We will take care of the proofreading, the formatting, the cover design, the category research, the metadata optimization, and then we list the book across 100 distribution channels, not only on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Baker & Taylor, or Book A Million, both in print on demand and ebook, and also audiobook version. So we can even create, not only we have 60 synthetic voices that we can use, we can also model the author's own voice and create an audiobook version out of that, and list it where it's possible to list that as well. We also manage the royalties for the authors, and we also help them create marketing campaigns for the books. Instead of the process of the publishing, which is supposed to take, 6 to 18 months, we do that within 2 to 3 weeks. We already published 2,500 American authors with Spines, and we're just getting started.
Cool. What was the inspiration? Where did the idea come from?
13 years ago, I published my first book in Israel. I was throughout my master's degree at electronics engineering. And then I realized that the publishing process is kind of broken. And I decided to bootstrap my own publishing company. But Niv Publishing grew to become the largest publishing house in Israel with over 400 team members, more than 1,200 titles published annually. And about 5 years ago, I finished building all the management team here in Israel. And I started to do some M&As and some angel investing in startups, in Israeli tech startups. And then I realized about 2 years prior to ChatGPT, I realized what those founders are working on, and I came to a conclusion that I have two options available. Either I will become irrelevant like everyone else, or I'll be the one who lead this AI revolution in the publishing space.
You talked a little bit about like industry timelines there, and that being something that you can do faster. But what are other problems in publishing that you're trying to solve?
99.9% of the authors will be rejected by the traditional publishers, and then they come to a conclusion that they have to invest in the production process. Either they will go to a vanity publisher, either they will go to a self-publishing process. Both of them will cost them a lot of money and will take a lot of time. Self-publishing process, that's a huge hustle. They now need to find an editor, someone to do the proofreading, someone to create the cover design for them. I've met personally over 8,000 authors in-person meetings, and they all had the same complaint. Why didn't the cover designer has read my book? Yeah, because he couldn't. He has to design covers.
There are a lot of services that offer for a fee an author can have their book listed on a lot of online outlets. You're not necessarily getting like a team of salespeople out there selling your book into accounts, getting your book into stores, getting your book into distribution channels. And for us, that's the difference between being a distributor and being a wholesaler. And it sounds like what you're doing is kind of getting these books out on wholesale channels. And one of the reasons that timelines are longer in traditional publishing is because all of those sort of relationships and mechanisms that help you sell the book into various distribution channels take time. Like you have the seasonal publishing schedule for a reason, because you're putting all of your seasonal books in front of salespeople. I'm wondering, like, what is the benefit of not doing that? Like, wouldn't the authors benefit from selling into the market through standard industry purchasing timelines? Like, how do you make up for that, the loss of that timeline?
Oh, by the way, I'm a huge fan of going to a bookstore and purchasing hard copies of books that I enjoyed reading, but I believe the world is going to a different direction, and I'm just going with the flow.
Because it's like all the statistics would directly contradict what you're asserting. Like, bookstore sales are the fastest growing part of the market. Globally, 94% of sales are physical books. It's like, especially by dollars, it's like really firm against what you're purporting. So like, you've clearly bet on this and convinced people to invest in this idea. Whereas like, bookstores have grown significantly over the last 14 years, in terms of both like market share, taking away from the chains, taking away from like the biggest accounts. So it's really interesting that, you're looking at it that way.
How many copies does the average Spines book sell? How many titles are in your list? What is the net average sales per book? What's your greatest success? Are there any authors out there, actually making a profit from the sales of these books?
So we have a few that actually making a profit, because we are enabling publishing to everyone who wish to do that. That means that we do not attract the top tier authors. Okay, we are here to allow those who no one will give them a chance to meet their audience. Okay, so we published 2,500 titles to date, and about 20 out of them are very successful. Okay, and those are the industry numbers. So as the reason why I have in Israel the highest amount of best-selling books is because I published the highest amount of books in Israel. Okay, that's a numbers game. So same thing will happen here.
You know, like typically for any service provider or publisher, it is like 1% of your books are your bestsellers, and that seems like you're kind
That's
of
the
in that.
industry numbers,
Mhm.
I believe that even the top tier traditional publishers, okay, 99% of their books are total failure. Even though they're investing so cleverly in choosing their titles, only 1% of their titles succeed. So
Yeah.
what I do, I allow everyone to do so, and by then I improve my chances to find more quantity of best-selling authors.
Like looking at the mechanics a little bit more. So when, you know, on this podcast, when we talk about distribution, we're talking about sales teams and supply chains into a market territory, you know, whether that's like a gift shop in Georgia or like bookstore chains in Singapore. But so who is your trade distributor and how do you go to market? Like how is Spines globally distributed? It sounds like you have something a little more unique.
So we only do online distribution. So we offer ebook, print-on-demand books, and audiobooks where it's possible to list those audiobooks because we cannot list them everywhere we like.
My life was changed by a book when I was 20 years old. The book was How to Lie with Statistics. And ever since I read that book, I cannot look at a bunch of numbers without feeling a little skeptical. And I looked at yours. It says the old way is either traditional publishing, you get 2 to 15% royalties. I'm not sure where these 2% royalties come from, but Joe probably knows. Vanity publishing, you get 35 to 70% royalties, and publishing with Spines, you get 100% royalties. And I was very interested to then look at your terms of service, where it turns out you actually have a 70% royalty on net receipts.
We have a promotion that for those who will join us in as long as the promotion is on, they will receive 100% of the royalties. We will not take the 30% cut. I think the promotion is only for the first 2 years, and after that it goes back to 37.
I was very entertained with 100% royalties because like everyone pays 100% of the royalty, and I thought that was where you were going with that. But it is good to hear that you actually get 100% of the net revenues. Okay, so what is the very least that someone could spend on services from Spines to get published, and what is the very most that someone could spend? And then what do most authors spend?
Like our lowest tier plan is it started with 1,200. Okay.
1,200 total or 1,200 a month?
No, 1,200. Okay, and on top of that, by the way, we are now changing the membership. It used to be 19 a month, but soon we're introducing a yearly plan, so it will be once a year. You will be charged, depend on the plans. So the first year is included, but then for the second, third, fourth year, you will have to pay the membership. Okay,
and that's just to keep your book in print and available.
Yeah. So the membership is for the marketing tool, access to the marketing tool, to our community. We have a lot of content for the authors. For our royalty management tool, we keep on listing the book in more and more channels as we expand. So that's regarding the membership. But the production plan starts from 1,200, and on the lowest tier, it's include proofreading, formatting, cover design, and print-on-demand version of the book. And on our higher tier, it's $5,000, but that also includes audiobook. And now we are introducing in the highest tier as well, your book will be translated to another language.
Yeah, and so what is the average author pay in your 2,500?
Most of them go to the mid tier, which is 2,400.
Mm-hmm.
Because, by the way you structure a pricing plan, you direct people to the middle tier, so it always works. Okay, so
we look at different publishing models a lot, and we find that there are, traditional publishing, purportedly at least, the benefit is to the reader. Like that's what everybody's working together towards the same goal, is like to give the reader an excellent book that will change their life, that will add value to their life. Mm-hmm. And then newer forms of publishing, such as hybrid publishing, is like a little bit of mix of both, or vanity press or self-publishing. Often the benefit is to the author. Like a lot of services, it's like an author service, and the author is the customer rather than the reader, and making the author happy and fulfilled is more important than making the reader happy and fulfilled. And then we find there are some other publishers where the main beneficiary is the publisher. And I was wondering for you, like, who is your main beneficiary?
So I focus on the authors. Will I be able to publish more than 1 million authors in my lifetime? And I realize probably the AI revolution is my best chance succeeding doing that. So I only started this new company, Spines. I only started this new journey because I want to help more authors, helping realize their publishing dream. But my main focus is making sure the authors are happy. And of course, authors are very happy if their book succeeds.
Like one of the key components is you're dependent on a lot of third-party sales platforms like BNN and Amazon and, you know, these things that would be your two market forces. But so, for example, during the pandemic, you know, Amazon deplatformed books in the United States to make, you know, room for other things. So are your authors concerned about your dependence on these platforms? Because it seems like if that's their only two market force, like that could really be cut off sort of at any time.
We list the books in more than 100 channels. Okay, so if one platform decided to unlist for some reason a title, it still will be available in a. But yet more than 70% of our book sales come from Amazon, and I think it's not only us. I think that every publisher has that ratio. That most of the selling comes from Amazon. But we are trying to diversify. We are planning on creating our own bookstore soon, and that will be another channel that we 100% control.
I mean, that's honestly really impressive for what you're doing, because most platforms such as yourselves would be more like 99% Amazon, to be honest. And we're sort of an outlier because, you know, 1% of our sales go to Amazon because we focus on smaller, you know, better, like more reliable places. But I mean, I think you're right. Like 60% is probably average.
Yes, I guess.
Unfortunately, you know, but yeah, so you're smart to diversify.
Your terms of service say that you use AuthorWorks to feed an LLM, and I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong. This was going to be my question, but now I'm going to answer it, and you can just say that I'm wrong or right. But it sounds like the benefit of a reader, say, publishing through you rather than publishing through Amazon and using other AI tools that are freely available is that you've like trained your AI and trained your LLM to like be book specific, right?
Yes.
So I guess I'm curious about that, because, you know, we've all had the experience every day of our lives these days of trying to search for something on Google and then seeing an AI summary pop up, and those facts are not always correct. And I'm wondering, are you doing fact checking as part of this? And if not, if you're using your author's manuscripts to train your LLM, how are you ensuring that that LLM is of good quality, I guess? Like, how are you ensuring that, like, it's gonna not just kind of have a spiral of worsening output?
So what we did actually is in our first and second year, what we did is everything that was done by the AI, a real human was reviewing and optimizing and correcting, and that's how we improved and boosted our let's say our accuracy. But actually nowadays so at the beginning, when we just started, I like 2 years prior to ChatGPT, LLM wasn't that something which was a commodity. Okay, so we had to figure out stuff which were very complicated. We tried to create everything ourselves. Eventually, nowadays, sometimes we can spend over a year creating something, but suddenly something which is a third party might do an even better job. So in trying to create a proper formatting for a book, first you need to tag the book. Okay, the tool need to understand what is a headline, what is a paragraph, what is a subtitle. Okay, so those kind of tasks was done by humans, like a formatter would go and tag the book, and then so what we do, that's an not exactly an LLM, but that's a model that we created that was trained on books that we published, okay, but can now understand how to tag a book properly, and from that we can create all the versions needed to list the book properly. So those kind of models we already created and they are working. I'm pretty sure that such a use case will never be developed by others companies, because that's a very unique need of the publishing process, and a very specific to what we do.
Somebody made the joke that when you Google something and you get a very incorrect answer from Google's AI, it's because it combed every Yelp review that was spouting inaccurate information and then reiterating it as fact very confidently. Given the nature of AI's electricity consumption, how do you estimate the environmental impact of spines?
That's a good question. I believe as we will move into the future, everything will be optimized, and who knows, with quantum computing introducing to the world, maybe we will move all the electricity costs to a different dimensions. Who knows? But
But what do you like to read? Like, are there specific books, especially ones that you've published, that you loved and would recommend to our readership to check out? Tell us the titles and authors so people can look them up and why they would love to read them.
So I read a lot of self-help books, a lot of business books of startups. Actually, I think that, like, I'm working with authors, but actually my day-to-day is trying to build a very successful business. Okay, so I'm more focused on the business side of that, and I think that for every entrepreneur out there, one of the most important books you can read is the Hard Thing About the Hard Things of Ben Horowitz. Okay, that's the book. Okay, and that's the OG of the book.
And I was like, I was brought around on a lot of things that I didn't expect to be. So you were, I was impressed. I was like,
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.